started the other day. You want to start?
Yeah. Arrow, stop.
No!
All right, shh. Welcome back to another episode of the In Raw Life podcast. We're ecstatic you're here today. We are alive and well. Well, we are sort of well. I have my kids at home with me still because of COVID. So sorry if there's some interruptions, but hey, we're covering self-care and we're going to get to it one way or another today.
Exactly. And I'm pretty excited about today's because I feel really strongly about this. And it's funny because it's not something that I don't think anybody or most people don't really think of as self-care.
Yeah, that's true.
But as I have become, I have to say, pretty good at this, at least pretty good.
Yeah.
It really is something that I'm finding myself thanking myself for all the time and being really appreciative of the fact that it's something I have developed and can fall back on. Like it really fuels my whole life in a sense.
Yeah.
So today's self-care.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
Before we
What?
go, shouldn't we tell them all the things that we should tell them?
Yeah, go for it. What things?
Okay. But before we reveal,
you have COVID brain fog. I have pregnancy brain. So one of us has to remember something.
Between the two of us. Before we reveal today's grand self-care routine, we want to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe to the show because that will help our podcast grow. So wherever you're listening to the podcast, just hit the little subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating if you're free. And if you have an extra minute, write a sentence of how awesome we are. So that way the podcast platforms know to spread our stuff. And you can also follow along with us on Facebook. We record there live now. What up, Facebook? Hey! You can join us. We have an exclusive group called Empowered Unstoppable Women. We'd love to have you be a part of it. You can encourage other women there, watch us record the podcast live, all those things. So check us out over on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. All right. Now that the paperwork, housekeeping, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. is complete. Jessica, tell them, what is today's self-care?
So today's self-care that we're talking about is financial self-care. Ooh,
what
I know.
is that?
Right?
That sounds bizarre. Does it mean
bizarre? Could be a little scary. But basically it's just the actions, according to the Instagram post we keep following, it's the actions we take to develop financial literacy and habits. So like healthy financial habits. And some of their examples are getting a financial coach or prioritizing your debts. But really it's those, and I would even say it's just being knowledgeable on your finances. Like I've come to realize over the past few years that honestly, like the definition of poor, wealthy, rich, whatever is all in your mind. Like, and this is coming from somebody who is a single mom, one income, like I get it. I don't, I've been not making a ton of money. I make a decent amount of money. Like, I get it. I came from the military world where we also didn't get a lot of money on that one single income or whatever I helped do with it. And I've realized that feeling as though you don't have money or being poor really is in your mind. And it just depends on how you use it. I mean, any financial person that you'll listen to is the most important thing to do is live within your means. So if you know how much you make, even if it looks like not a lot in the bank account, you just have to make sure that you're spending less or just up to that. Like that's it. That's pretty much the super simple basics of it. But something that I've done for my own financial self-care to get to this point where I feel this way is working on my money mindset. Because I came from a place where I grew up not wealthy, not in like a wealthy family, not in a family that had an overabundance of money. And we were surrounded by people who did have an overabundance of money and things. And so that really kind of set the stage for my mindset around money. And, if we went in someplace, it was always you go to the sale racks. And if you like wanted something, it was not always, it usually was not a guarantee that you could have it or get it. So I kind of learned not to ask for things. I learned that I don't get a lot of things. I learned that things are expensive and money is hard to come by. But as an adult, um, especially the past few years, like I said, I've really honed in on listening to the right financial people, the right books, reading the right books, podcasts, and just tiny little tweaks while I was making very little money as a single mom gave me like the abundance, I am wealthy mindset, which has set the stage for like all of the amazing things that I've been able to make happen in my life, like being able to have a second child and being able to purchase a house still as a single mom, and all the things that have come into my life. So that is kind of the basics of the idea behind it, for me at least. What would you say, Sierra?
Yeah, I mean, I think mindset does have a lot to do with it because you have to accept that what you have is enough. Like no matter what, no matter how much income you have, no matter what's in your house or not. I mean, because like Jay and I were just talking the other day because we're trying to like clear out all of our stuff, right? We've moved with all of our junk
Mm-hmm.
from California to Florida, from Florida to New Jersey now. And like it's just a matter of like having to go through it and get rid of it, which is a daunting task. And that's the reason we haven't done it, is because it's daunting. And so he said, like, when it comes to, because we're talking about like wherever we move next, like this isn't our forever home, it's small. It's only got one bathroom, we definitely want a bigger house. And we'll probably move in 5 years or so. But he said, I don't think, like, he said we've got to fix the stuff before then, because we don't
Mm-hmm.
have a house problem, we have a stuff problem. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're going to fill the next big, we could buy a big beautiful mansion with all the space in the world, and we'll fill that with our junk if we don't get rid of our junk. And so I think like it's same when it comes to your money mindset. Like you have to know that you have enough or too much, like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, you don't need more things, you don't need more possessions, you need financial freedom. You need to be debt free. And that is something that we do have, which is why we
Mm-hmm.
can, look at bigger houses for the future, even though our income hasn't changed that much. It's because we don't live in debt. We live debt free, and we don't spend on like things we don't have. If we don't have it, we don't buy it, and we wait until we can afford it. We save up. And it's funny, like our society is become such a now society. Like every, order it on order it on Amazon, it'll be there same day. But realistically, like that's not teaching us as individuals character, perseverance, strength, patience. Like all of those things are really beautiful too. And those come with working hard for something, waiting for something. Like when we're kids, we saved up in our piggy bank. Like my son has a chart to see when he can afford his Megalodon car wash, and he's going to get it as soon as he can afford it. But he has to, like, he's learning the value of hard work, because every time he empties the dishwasher, he gets 50 cents, or every time he helps my husband with some lawn work, he gets $1. Like, so it's all adding up, and it's teaching him this like perseverance or whatever. But once you get to a certain age where you can get a credit card, you're like, screw it, I'll just get my Megalodon car wash now and I'll pay for it later. And that, like, we're missing out on this huge chunk of like self-control, which is therefore making us go into debt, which is therefore destroying part of us. Like we think we're giving ourselves more by rewarding ourselves with these things that we want, but really, because we don't have this the patience or the perseverance, and because we are, sure buddy, sorry, patience, perseverance. He's asking for a brownie to eat in 4 hours from now because he's got self-control. Anyway, like when we just give now, we think we're happier because we're feeling this need, this like, oh, I bought this thing and it makes me feel so happy. But no, what makes you feel good inside is being debt free, being
Mhm.
able to go and buy something without guilt because there's no debt associated with it, or there's no, looming bills or anything. So I think it really is about shifting your mindset to say, like, I have the strength and perseverance to wait for this. And that by waiting for this until I actually have it, I can enjoy it that much more. I think that's a huge key there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the debt-free thing, I honestly really dove into it after Jay got into Dave Ramsey and was like reading his book. And I was like, oh, let me look into that. And then like more stuff would come up, of course, because like probably Instagram was listening or whatever. So I would see things. So, and I talk about this actually in an old podcast episode. I think I touch on a few of these things, but an old podcast episode of ours really early on, it was like episode number 18. It was a quick boost. So it was probably like 15, 20 minutes. Um,
It was your
titled,
booth. It was probably 10. You're efficient.
I don't know, because I was covering a lot of stuff, but it was,
That's true.
could I really become debt free? And that is like that really is the first step in financial self-care is making that plan to be debt free so you can be like feel the financial freedom. And between Dave Ramsey's, steps of like focusing on snowballing debt, and I do love this quote of his, like live like no one else so you can live like no one else, meaning live like no one else now, like bare minimum, Spartan, you don't need to be constantly going out, you don't need to be buying all these things, like what you have is enough. You just need to be buying the essentials, of course, and living very much within or below your means so you can pay off the debt. And then once the debt's paid off and you start saving appropriately, or you have like the right little money pockets for different things, then you get to live like no one else because you get to live like you get to know exactly what you want and you buy it when you want it because you have the money and there's no debt associated with it. Um, so I talk a lot about him, and I think I even cover talk a little bit about the Budget Mom, who I love too. You can find her on Instagram. But between the two of them, I figured out how to pay off my debt properly. So I am debt free, like until in a couple of weeks when I officially close on a house by myself,
Woo!
like, which is crazy pants to me. Like that's something I've been dreaming of, but also never was sure how that was going to happen until the past few years. And now I'm like, wow, this is happening. um, like I have these little different saving pockets of, for Emmeline or for the new baby or for things for the house, vacation fund, so that I'm always putting away like whatever is an overage from, the essentials of roof over our head, food in our bellies, um, electricity, stuff like that. Everything else gets saved appropriately. It's not just this random extra money that's just sitting around that I could be like, oh, well, I have it, so I can spend it. It's very intentional so that when it's time to, go away for 3 days this weekend with Emmeline for a big birthday celebration for her with her best friend, I don't have to worry about where that money is coming from because it's already allotted. Like it's already there. It's amazing. Or like I have a car fund, and if something comes up with the car, I don't freak out anymore. I'm not like, "Oh my gosh, I have to pay this hundreds of dollars for something for the car," because it's already taken care of. So I'm always like thanking myself. Like it really is self-care that I've planned appropriately because I'm taking care of me and myself and there's zero worry around it. And then anytime, like even, of course, with the house coming up, so there's a lot of expenses. It gets a little like, oh my goodness, how am I exactly going to do this and the things that are needed around it? But then I just remind myself that it's always like I have the abundance mindset. It's always around, it's always coming. I am abundant and it always works out. So it's going to work out.
I'll say too, like the whole live like no one else so you can live like no one else. That it feels awkward in the moment, but Arrow, can you please stop? Honey, I gave you a brownie, right? You gotta be good. You gotta be good. Arrow, Go play down, sit there. Sorry. What was I say? Sorry, I've got the dog barking.
To
It is
live like
very
no one else.
challenging to be home with all the people. You've been home.
I gave Maxie a peanut butter jar, so she's been at that for like an hour now.
Nice. Arrow, here, go get a peanut butter jar. Anyway, when you when you live like no one else in the beginning, it feels weird, because you're saying no to things that you want to say yes to, like going out or whatever, buying things. And also all the people around you, they are going into debt. So it feels weird. Like, oh, they all have newer cars that they are going into debt for. And they have, these big, like they refinance their home. Also not a great financial decision, but it feels great in the moment for them because now they're redoing their living room or whatever the case may be. And, like you're still living in this space of feeling like without, right? Like you see all these people around you who are living with, and you're living without. And but the thing that shifts, and it happens pretty quickly, like it feels hard in the moment, but once you start to pay off your debt, like once you're snowballing it and you've got like you've got money to spend, and then you start getting savings built up, you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then you start realizing, like, the older you get, this is only going to continue, right? Like you're developing these habits now. Arrow, please stop making noises. Oh, this is going to be fun to edit. Anyway, Arrow, can you hear me? Please step away from that, okay? Okay, thank you. You are so you're creating these habits and you're building up this wealth so that when you're like when you're retired, when you're older, you've got all of all these finances built up, which you can then use for.
We can look at
Arrow, honey, I'm doing something. Okay, I need you to be respectful, or you need to go inside. Are you gonna go inside? Then be quiet so I can finish. Okay, I'm almost done, please. Man, my brain fog is hard enough as it is. Where was I at?
In the
Arrow,
future.
listen, I'm not joking. I have to finish this. I can play with you as soon as I'm done, okay? Please be quiet for a little bit longer.
Brownie after.
Future. Yes. Okay.
Brownie after lunch.
The way of the future.
Brownie after lunch.
Arrow, shush. Please.
Well, I mean, you were getting at the point of like you don't have to worry in the future either then, like when you're retired or when it's at a point where people don't always prepare for.
What?
And that's at the point where like a lot of people don't actually prepare for, and then they get there and they're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're taking these steps now when everyone else is, spending and living however, but now all these people are going to grow up and get retired and not have any income to live off of because they spent it all in their youth, which, I mean, I guess there's that debate where like enjoy it while you're young, but like also I don't want to be a stressed old person. I want to be on yachts when I have all the time. And
well, see, I have the perspective of when you do it the right way, you're able to enjoy the now and have it in the future. Like that's how I'm setting myself up personally, because I am enjoying, like I take vacations now. I make very intentional purchases for things that I like for myself or for my family. And I also know that I'm taking care of for the future and that I won't dip into that.
Yeah.
So that I'm taken care of then too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. You've got to take care of, like, it's almost like financial self-care is taking care of you in all areas of your life, like now and future you.
Yeah.
Because it just, I don't know, like it feels so, I feel like there's some people out there who are just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And to you, I say, I pity you. I pity that you don't understand how amazing it feels to be debt free. Like that feeling in itself feels so incredible.
Yeah. And it really is not unattainable. Like I know it sounds so like, oh, that's a pipe dream. And certain people get to do that. But really, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Like if we can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And neither of us have a financial background
No.
or necessarily like we're brought up that I don't think you were
No.
brought up that way, right? Yeah.
Nope.
So anyone can do it. And when you get there, like you are going to thank yourself so much. You have no idea.
I'll say, like, for me, the biggest thing that is hard is checking my bank statement. Because, like, as an Enneagram 7, I like to avoid checking the finances. I don't like to see the debt we're in. And so, like, my husband is really good at it and he keeps me on top of it. And I've become better at it. Like, I've had to actively tell myself to check the bank statements and see where we're at and to be on top of it. But, like, I guess you have to, again, shift your mindset. So it's not like when I check the bank, it's not limiting. It's not telling me like the little bit of money that I have. It's showing me like how much I have to spend and what I can do, what I get to do with it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it really is like I cannot stress enough how relieving it is to not have to worry. Like you said, like you still go on vacations, you still buy things for yourself. Like when and the thing that's different between doing it now versus doing it 10 years ago when you didn't have it is you can do it without guilt. Like you can go on the vacation and know you're fine. You can
Yep.
buy the thing for yourself and freaking enjoy it instead of beating yourself up because you shouldn't have bought that for yourself. Like you just get to enjoy this life and you get to feel really freaking proud of yourself because you saved up for that and made
Yeah.
that happen for yourself, which is incredible.
Yep, exactly. Amen. I agree.
Yeah,
I think we did it.
I agree. All right. Well, on that note, then let us bid adieu. Seeing as
So low.
I have a crazy 5-year-old who wants to shout into the camera. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Thanks, Facebook.
he fell out of bed today, he's saying.
If only he knew his audience.
All right, Arrow. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And also, we'd love to have you be part of the show. If you want to be part of the show, send us what balance means to you to hello@inrawlife.com, and we might feature you at the beginning of a show.
And remember, if you're listening or watching on YouTube and you're not in our group yet, make sure you go find us on Facebook, Work-Life Balance for Empowered Unstoppable Women. We would love to have you there. And then you would get all of the antics that you may have vaguely heard about on the podcast today. And you get it early. And until next week, I hope that you start making a plan. Even if you've already started into your debt-free financial freedom plan, really look at it, make sure that you are making the right decisions for you and your family and your future, and then go ahead and thank yourself for everything that you have done.